Okay, I'm trying this. I don't know how well it's going to work, but this is Fusion and the design I did. So, first thing is take the mesh that I made. This is a very rough mesh, as you can see. The top is freaking immaculate, though, because that's when I figured out what the hell I was doing. But the bottom and the side is crazy. But anyway, at this point, it's not aligned to axes. It looks freaking crazy. So I go to the next one. Convert it into a component. That's just what this guy did first. So, and then at this point, it kind of hides a few of the steps, but I added a bunch of planes to it. So you can see there's like one on the top, one on the battery box, the top of the battery boxes, on the kickstand, just different things for reference, because at this point I'm just trying to orient it to the axes here. So I can turn them on and off so you can see them, but so if we keep on going, at this point I'm adding this mid split between the left and the right here. So this is going to be my, I think my y-axis. And then a ref axis, so I'm like putting it between a couple things. In this case, I'm combining, I can't remember which planes I did, but the way all these planes are made actually is by going into here, going onto there, and I like say construct a plane through 3 points when I'm in mesh editing. And then I'll like, if I want it on the top, I'll put like 3 that are apart from each other, and then it will make a plane off of that. And on the front of the battery box, I did the same, and the back, all that stuff. So I have an axis, I have that. This is when I'm positioning, so based on the axes, I moved it over to align the top with the axes, so now you can see the top is actually aligned up there. This one I added a new origin point, so I put that literally right there, and that's where I want my origin to be. Then I move to the orange origin. So at this point, everything is oriented. So now the front is the front, and the left is the left, and blah de blah de blah de blah. So at this point, I can kind of start building from it. So let me take that off. I start making sketches like the front size refs. If you look at the video I sent, you can make a cross-section sketch. So I started it at like a plane out here, and then I moved it in, and then it highlights everything that's around the mesh at that point. So now that I have a highlight there, and if I hide this, you can see I can like reference these geometry and like make my own geometry on top of it. So I fit like a line to this squiggly line as best as possible using the fit to geometry settings inside of a sketch, which I can actually, I don't know if I can show you. Oop. Come on. There goes my 3D printer warming up. There's so much in this that it's like taking forever. There we go. So I have some dimensions on here for what I know is different dimensions that I've measured with a with my calipers. But most of them are there. Shit. This is taking forever. I might have just ruined the whole video. There we go. So yeah, in here, there's these fit curves to mesh section. So when you use that, you can just say like, I want to fit a line to this mesh section, and then it will like fit a line to you. And then I kind of used some of my intuition to say like, this is 5.5, trying to get that curve to kind of match it a little bit, because this curve is going to go out once I add fillets later, for instance. Same thing down here, like just fitting things as best as I can. So I then, what did I do here? Oh, I think I added another reference on the mesh somewhere. Adding another sketch. This is sketch 2. And at this point, I'm doing another section off of that. And then I'm adding additional information to it, like cutting around this bolt, pretty much saying where I want it to be. Adding another section sketch. I don't remember what this one is off of. You can see those are the mesh sections that I'm adding there. Yeah. So at this point, I'm just kind of making the references I need for everything. So like this one, I made a new plane off of the mesh origin on this plane. Or sorry, right here. I did it right on the edge there, because at this point I was trying to match this curve. Adding in a new sketch there that I made on that new one. Yeah. And now I made the new component here. So this is where I'm going to be putting everything that I put there. So I made a new sketch based on that. And let's start sketching. So on this plane right there, right on that pin, I'm like projecting that out. And then we have just kind of following that same geometry. This is yet another sketch. I don't remember where this sketch is. Oops. Damn it. I don't remember which one is which. But anyway, let's continue. So at that point, yeah, I just extruded out here. So I got all that stuff extruded out to that plane. So now I'm matching the X and Y there. You can see it overlaps a little bit, and I'll take care of that in a second. So I made another construction plane above. So now that goes there. Now how I make I don't know how much you've used Fusion, but I can't remember what I made this off of, but it's like you can do like an angle at 0 or something. And then I can make a sketch off of that. So now I have this sketch where I can project the geometry I have. And at this point, I think I just winged it. Yeah, you can see right there. I'm just following that geometry and cutting it out. That way I can do an inverse cut straight through. So then when I do a cut down, it now cut my body around the outside. And continue ad infinitum. So at this point, I'm just trying to get this geometry correct. So like this last thing was creating cuts around the geometry that is here and here so that I have better clearance. During this time, I made a couple of test prints to make sure this is working right. I don't think I have them here anymore. No, this is me previewing. But I can show you what they are by importing them here. So if I go over here, I can say like test match, test hole print, and these were like me making sure that everything matched here. So I would just take a cross section, like for instance, this cross section was the first one, and then I can print that without any supports or anything because I can print it from this face down, and then I added the hole, and then I can print that again to make sure that the hole fits. Yeah, so this is what it was before. And then that's after I cut that out. And just keep on going. Keep on making planes off of things. Adding sketches. In this case, I was trying to get to that hole position now, so I have a sketch off this. And then I'm sketching out what going over the hole will look like. Extruding just straight out, so now I have that shape. And this one, ooh, what was... Oh, that was using the same sketch I already used and then cut it up to get rid of that extra part. Boop. Adding a little bit more out on the side. And I'm just making a reference on that plane that I had there before, so I'm trying to match the going out on that. Extruding that to cut. This is the first time I used a loft. And the goal of this one, it's not even gonna show very well, was just to blend that together. Cut it down to being the same height as the wheel. This is the first time I did a plane on an angle, so I just you can select this edge, and then I think I put it at 90 degrees and it just put it straight up and down. So now I have a plane straight up and down that I can work with. And that's what I called the whole plane. And then that one's an offset plane. And then at this point I'm working on the mesh again, so I'd make sketch 8. It doesn't have anything on it yet. Okay. There you go. Now I got this whole ref that I'm making. This is the main goal I'm doing here, so I made another reference plane. And this is me just trying to line up the hole. And this is probably the most fancy thing I did is another mesh section. Just extracting straight out to the plane, so now that connects to that. If I hide that, at this point it went from there to there, cutting into there, and this is just me shaping the hole. I do not remember what this is. Nope, extracting this out more so it starts to get the right phase, and just continuing making more sketches. I don't know why it makes, like, every single time you make an edit to, like, a direct edit to the mesh, it makes, like, a copy of it, and I couldn't figure out how to stop that thing from stop happening. But I'm adding multiple axes here. And I think the goal of these were, they were based on, like, you can do axes between 3 points or axes between a mesh. So I had like a plane up here and I had a plane up there, and then that would give me this axis, and then if I put a plane here and a plane here, then I could get this axis. So now I have these axes that I can use for reference when I'm making other things, because I had like a plane here and a plane here, so I know exactly where things are. Extract this out a bit more so I can have stuff to work with. And you can see when you add in a mesh with a shit ton of triangles, it starts to slow down Fusion tremendously. And I think it's... Mac, it's pretty good, but when you have a mesh with like... I think there's like 5,000 triangles or something on this, it gets pretty bad sometimes. Come on. There we go. I think this is the first plane I actually did on these axes. Yeah, plane top. Plane 3. So now I have a plane that is matching that angle, which I can then sketch on. And then I can match that geometry, make a couple more sketches off of some other planes. So I'm just defining what this geometry will look like in all this different angles. Use that one I just made to extract this out to kind of get towards what I want. Then at this point I did it's just an extrude, but you can extrude 2 objects. So then when I actually selected this plane, it can actually just extrude straight to that plane and do that cut there, which didn't even know that was a thing not too long ago. So it will automatically match your angle. At this point, I matted the hole, so sketch 14 was interesting. So at this point, I didn't quite have what I wanted here, but what I think I did is I had the sketch plane defined, so I turned off the body view, so I couldn't see anything. And then I literally just went in here, lined up the thing exactly to what I wanted to, then locked the geometry. I'm not sure if this was... I don't think this was a section plane either. I just literally winged it. Keep on extruding out of that. Make another sketch on the end and extrude that out so I can high out D at. Make another one to... This is going to be the notch that I can connect to the back piece to, so the back piece doesn't hide, because there's only to connect to this, there's only this hole back here. There's this hole up here. There's the hole here, and then you have the holes for the light. The light is going to be up here, and then the screen, which is going to be here. And oh, that was me bringing in the other ones. So at this point, I felt pretty good about what this was going to look like. So up here, I kind of just rough sketched out where the light would be. And then I brought in the other piece that I already made. So I already made the bottom before I started trying to scan. So this was just trying to position it, getting it right placed, matching the geometry, all that fun stuff, just moving it around. Making another plane on the front. Keep on trying to match that. Alright, this guy. And these were taking sketches from my last attempt and trying to get them to match the new geometry here a bit. So I copied them from the other reference and then pasted them over and then started defining some of the geometry a bit. And then I also made one that was on the back. So the point of this is, you can see how this is, how the bottom is kind of down and then out and then in, because I kind of wanted like a two-tone kind of geometry. So I wanted to match that again. So I have the bottom defined, I have the top defined, and then I'm going to piecemeal over. So I'll extract this part out. And then at this point, to make that same like geometry, I have to loft it. If it wants to fucking... God damn it, Fusion. Fusion is just like, what the fuck? There's too many things going on. Even though this isn't super complex in the long scheme of things. I'm watching my 3D print now. Because I'm worried about because I've been asking ChatGPT a little bit to give me some advice on some of the things that I'm running into. Like the last time I 3D printed TPU like this with a lot of supports, because I did it for my current piece, which I just 3D printed, it created a lot of ribs where the supports were, and they were a bitch to get out. So I'm actually messing around with a lot of settings, and I'm hoping they work. I can actually show you this. Oop. Oh my god. The controls change that you use in Bamboo. So if I slice this, and if I go to objects and this guy, you can see I'm changing it to snug. The Z distance is the big one, putting the Z distance up a lot, but that brings like 3 to 4 layers where it's actually not printing anything on top of the supports, and I'm kind of worried how that will go, but it says that it will be fine. But you can see it, for instance, let me go to it. So some of the things it told me to do was, the main thing it told me to do was increase Z distance. But I'm worried about it's just not going to print on anything. The other one it said is to use the concentric design instead of the line design, and that will make it less ribbed when it goes over. But you can see, like, this is the top of that. So this is the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 layers before with nothing. I don't know how that's gonna work. But we'll see. But anyway, let's continue this. I made a new plane matching this, so I actually just put a plane at an angle on this edge. That way I could make another sketch on that. And then at this point I'm just projecting the geometries and then making slight differences. Let me get rid of that plane so it's easier to read. And then the loft. The loft is the fun thing. So from that edge to that edge, I am lofting down, so that's how I create that weird angle. And then extruding. Oh, that was just a little piece I missed. More planes, more extrusions, and now I have the general blocking of the top. What was that? And that was the front. All right, this was another extrude to a plane. So this plane. So I actually just made this plane first yeah, that is this one. So what I did, I think I made the plane based on this angle, this edge and this edge. Or I did it based on the sketch, I don't remember. And then I can extrude to it, and then it creates that angle for me with everything pushed out to it. Continue. Another sketch, another little piece. That's just me filling that in. And then that one's the fun thing. So this is another loft. This last sketch was up here, so that's just me defining where it's going to loft to, and then I just said loft from this point up to there, and that connected those two bodies. And now I have one body. And continuing, so yeah, this is me defining the where the how far out you're gonna go and where the screen's gonna be. So I started working on that piece, extract that out a little bit. At this point I knew the screen had to be 20 high because it's 16 and I wanted 2 millimeters on each side. And then cutting by extracting it out, so this matches the edge of the screen. And then I made a little thing over it so that way it's a little bit protected. And continue making edges and all that other stuff. I still don't know why fusion takes forever sometimes. Lots of calculations. I gotta say though, like this whole the concentric supports look really fucking cool. Anyway. What was this? Oh, points. Yeah, this is where I was running into a lot of issues, actually. So I was making points at random spots. In this case, it's there where I took a, like, at this line and on this plane, make a point there. And the point of, the point, the point of making these points, because I made one up there too that was on the same axis, just up there, is because I was trying to fill in this section. And because this is lofted out here, where this plane is not the same as that plane, I kind of needed to define more geometry than normal. That way I could extrude from like a triangle out from here to here and have it match all the way down. Using another loft. I love lofts. Alright. Just because I know this sketch, because I've worked too much in it, I defined where the points were. So these are the holes. And this is an interesting one because this actual screen is on an angle. So if you look up here, you can see that the sketch is actually, the screen is triangular at the top, but the screws go in straight. And it was such a pain in the ass to try to figure that out at first. So I actually duplicated, that's what it was, yeah. I made another plane like way out here, and then I made this sketch here. Let me zoom out because I lost complete track of where the hell I am. Let me switch to the other side. Bloop. So now we're here. I actually just made a new sketch. I got this sketch already on there. And then I just projected the geometry, so then I had the exact points where they were across from a different set of geometry. And then I made a hole going in. And then a lot of this was guesswork. So if you look at it from the top, I just said, I kept on changing this until it matched, and I knew that this was the whole thing minus the top, which the top is, so you see 54.3 and 49.1. I knew that was like the 5.3 millimeters is what I wanted for the distance of this. And just because that's how much it needs to sink in, because the screws actually stick out from the side of the screen by about that much. And I made them a little thicker than they needed to be because it's TPU and I'm expecting it to squish. And I did the same for the next hole, just with different numbers. Bloop, bloop. So let's turn that off. Me making more sketches, defining where more things are going to be. This specifically is where the screen, where the light is going to be. So lofting from that out to that so that I have a solid surface. I also lofted from the bottom to the top so that it fills it in. And at this point, I'm just using normal extrusions, so I just went from extrude out from there to make the hole. There we go. More planes. I don't know, it's like thinking in 3 dimensions, it's weird. I do not remember what this plane was for. I guess I'm about to find out. Damn it. Anyway, you can see what this is doing. So, I don't know what it's doing up there. That looks sketchy. What is this? I don't know what that +1 means. They added a lot of stuff to Bamboo Slice. I upgraded my firmware, and they just added a bunch of shit that I don't know what it does. Come on. Oh, we're waiting for this. This is what the scan software looks like. Well, now we're waiting on that. Great. So this is after the model was fused and meshed and all this other stuff. This is, I think, 2 different scans that are meshed together. This is what the solid scan looks like. And it did have a lot of extra information in here that I cut out. At this point, I was trying to take as much out of the mesh that I could so that it would load faster into Fusion. Here. Oh, I was doing more with the hole over there, so I was making another sketch on there so I could extrude out the outside of it. And now we have a solid hole. Yeah, at this point I realized that this wasn't actually where I needed it to be, so I cut it out more, because that only went to there. And these are just like tweaks, basically, at this point, because I already got the basics there. Oh, cutting out for the wire coming out of the screen. Just a very basic cut. I just had a sketch here that I defined where I wanted it to be, and then the extrude. With these extrudes, if you want to do something basic, I just put a -30-degree taper and a 7mm in, and then that just makes a little tiny cone for you. The only reason for using a taper there instead of just cutting it out is because now I don't have to put supports there. That's it. Oh, just filling this spot in. And then this is where I was done with the blocking, so this is where I was happy with where it looked like. And I did the test print, it looked good, so the filleting was actually a major pain in the ass on this. Because I had to do one little piece at a time, because a lot of these way that I cut it out was like conflicting. So I would like try to do like one section at a time. Like I did all of these sides at a time, for instance, and you can see that I couldn't quite get that because I couldn't do everything at once. So then I had to like pick little pieces and fillet them more. Fillet down in there. Fillet these sides. The top here, so I did all those at the same time. And you can see this one, it just didn't know what the fuck to do. So this had a couple of iterations that I needed to do to get that to actually agree with me. Oh, this was another attempt to fix the back here. So you can see that just filled in, so the purpose of that is get that mesh out, is so that this is behind the battery box, so there's like a solid all the way up. At some point I gained another body and I don't know where it is or what it does. I just hit it. I made mistakes. Mistakes were made. Yep. Just a little bit up on the top. More fillets up there. So this time I'm just doing very tiny fillets at the top, and the point of those is to just smooth out what the person's feeling with their hand. And just little tiny tweaks. This was probably the bigger one, is adding the fillets on the holes. Because even before this, I actually did a couple of extrusions. Nope. Oop. I think they actually were edits, so they're not going to show on the timeline when I went back, but I went back to some of the sketches I had in the past and added, made the holes a little bit bigger on most of them. There were a few that were a pain in the ass, so when I edited it, it actually caused a cascading problems with other parts in the model. So I just undid those changes and then went in after the fact and then made them, made normal extrusions on top. And this looks horrible from my 3D print, so I'm going to stop this and try it again with different support settings. Great. Ugh. Sorry, I'm peeling it off. Ugh. Okay, I want to see what this looks like. All right. So, yo, this is one of the holes, the hole differences I had. I had to make the hole a little bit bigger, so I literally just went to the back and then extracted the hole and made it bigger. And then more fillets, and I think that's the last fillet, actually. Nope, more fillets. At this point, I was filleting the bottom, so all the fillets. And I think that's it. Yep. And that's the ends point. So now I gotta figure out how to print this thing without it looking like complete and utter shit, and that's taking forever.